Hello, Unlocked World. Welcome to our Tuesday live stream. Today we have with us the one and only Cassie Wilson. This girl, I cannot say enough about. I think the internet's slow. Can you hear me?
It's okay. Yeah, okay, we're working through it.
We're working through it. So I cannot say enough about Cassie. She is my right hand when it comes to all things rental property management. She is the reason that we are able to do what we do. And she is the reason that I have time to put all this amazing stuff together for the Unlocked community, because she is day to day in our rental business. And she is here to share all of her knowledge with you on, Cassie, what are we talking about today? Tenant screening.
Yes.
And resident retention. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So we'll just open it up. If you want to introduce yourself and kind of let everyone know who you are, how you got here, and
that was a loaded intro, but I'm so happy to be here. I tell everybody that I come in contact with that Jessie Lang changed my life.
Oh.
So so I definitely learned a lot from you. But I think that a lot of people have reached out to me in regards to tenant screening and just communication, all of the things tenant related. And so I'm really glad that we're doing this live stream. So hopefully if you guys have questions that you can answer them, or I'll answer them, but you guys can ask them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Yep, exactly right. So if you have any questions about, we'll give you kind of a quick rundown of everything that Cassie does. If you have any questions about those topics, throw them in the chat. As you guys know, this is super interactive. Even if you're watching the replay, go ahead and post your comments and we will get back to you and just answer in writing. So Cassie, what do you do for us? What does the long list include?
All of the things. I think the big thing that takes a lot of time is leasing. Obviously, I'm interacting with residents on a daily basis, and I think it's super important because it's like the relationship that you have with someone, that person, it's that foundation that's going to let you know ahead of time if somebody's moving out, so that so you're not ghosted. I mean, potential resident searching, it helps all of the things. Yeah. So between that, obviously we do rents, maintenance requests, the whole nine. Anything Jessie needs me to do, I'm doing. But the big thing is leasing, right? And so I know we were talking about this early, Jessie, but we use Buildium for our property management software, and Buildium syndicates to, I think, at least 7 different sites. So Zillow, apartments.com, there's a bunch of them, but the main source of our potential residents come from Zillow. And so when you're talking about tenant screening, you're looking through those Zillow applications, and then some of them are pushing email too. So you can follow up through email with that.
Yep, exactly right. And we're actually going to go over the full Zillow process. We have like a sample application pulled up that I can share with everyone. Cassie's going to talk us through it. I do want to take one step back. So we are talking about applicant screening and we are talking about resident retention. How do those things go hand in hand, you guys? This is the key that I want you to walk away with, and it's expectations. So we are setting clear expectations from the first day someone contacts us through the last day that they're moving out. So that's going to kind of be our theme throughout, bridging these two topics, is setting clear expectations to maintain the best relationship we can. It's a process that I built, that Cassie has built upon, and that she implements on a day-to-day basis. So when I say that I don't necessarily talk to our residents anymore, that is true. That is completely true, because Cassie is so freaking good at it. She's so good at it. We're going to talk about... We're going to talk about...
You call me the resident whisperer one time.
Sorry, what was that?
No, I was saying Jessie called me the resident whisperer one time.
Yeah, she is. She's the resident whisperer. So we're going to talk about different skills. Someone asked, how do we meet? We'll go over that. We'll talk about skill sets to look for if you're trying to find your own Cassie. I say everyone needs a Cassie. So when you're finding your own Cassie, we'll talk about some of those skills that make her so, so good at what she does. But yeah, so let's take a step back. Let's think about the process start to finish, from screening with the underlying message of setting clear expectations. So I'm going to start pulling up that application. Cassie, why don't you tell everyone what is our application process? There's really like kind of 5 main steps that we do.
Yeah, so someone will reach out to us. First of all, in leasing, you're going to post your listing, your pictures, your listing, all the qualifications there. Somebody's going to reach out to you through Zillow is what we typically use. And then they'll either ask questions, but the main thing is that they're submitting an application. Once they submit the application, that's when we start looking at the important things like credit, background report. So housing violations is a big one. And then income. So that's where we go and piggyback from there. We're looking for red flags. Obviously for income, well, not obviously, but for us, we go by gross income. And then we're looking if there's any vouchers or any programs that the potential residents are working with. And then from there, the pre-approval process, we're going to say yes or no based off of the information that we get preliminarily. And then that's when we schedule the showing. So then after the showing, we decide how deep we're going to go. And I go real deep because I don't want... We do, or I do. I'm talking. I'm like, this is a 12-month potential relationship.
Yeah. Cassie comes to me with stuff that she's like, I uncovered this, this, and this. And I'm like, what? I'm like, where did you find that? So we'll go over a lot of those things. But to kind of recap the 5 steps in our application process. So we have, the inquiry comes in with the Zillow application, right? If they didn't fill out the application, we ask them to go ahead and do it. Everyone asks, Jesse, how can you get away with doing that? And it's because that same Zillow application can be used across hundreds of rentals. So if they don't like ours, they don't have to pay another fee. They can go somewhere else, right? So we have kind of removed the barrier for someone to do an application first by using Zillow. So they do an application. Second is pre-approval, and it's based on exactly what Cassie said: their credit, their background and eviction, and then their income. That we're going to look at an application, and that is everything included. So if the preliminary passes, we set them up for a showing. That's step 3. Step 3, they do a showing. They like our unit. Step 4, Cassie's deep dive. We call this the full approval. So once they're fully approved, we're checking their. We'll go into it, but we're really calling the references. We're digging deeper on a lot of stuff. And if they pass all that, then we move to lease and deposit. So those are kind of our 5 steps. So let's hop into what step 2 looks like, which is the Zillow application. So nope. We're going to get there. This one. Okay, here we go.
Okay, we're moving.
This is just Zillow.com, you guys. And they have a sample application. Yeah. So Cassie, you want to talk us through exactly what you're looking for?
Yes. So, thank you for zooming in. But we're looking at demographic information. We're not going super deep for the pre-approval, but we're just looking at, making sure the income there. We're making sure the income documents are also included, because I'm not going to move forward with someone that you can self-report. We were talking about this before. You can self-report your income. And from there, you can see, okay, how long that they've been at their job based off of what they reported. But then you also look at the last 30 days of pay stubs. So you can see if there's a lapse there, then we need to make sure we're getting that updated. Then we're moving down a little bit further.
Cassie, how frequently are we seeing on self-reported income, how frequently are we needing more information than what was already provided?
Yeah, that's probably like 80% of the time, because somebody could put their net income versus their gross. And it's like, okay, well, if we're looking at somebody who needs to be at least making 3 times the monthly rent, we can't move forward. And so that's when you ask the questions. Well, first of all, I'm looking at the pay stub to make sure that they reported it correctly. But if they did, then I'm like, okay, well, hey, do you have any other income, other than what's shown on I have to make that very specific, but other than what's shown on your application.
Yep.
And sometimes people are doing DoorDash or other things on the side, and we need to show proof of income from a financial institution or obviously from their place of employment.
So when she's pre-screening these applications, she is looking at, do they have 3 times the income? If they don't, following up saying, is there additional income between child support, DoorDash? Those are the ones we see a lot. Is there some additional income that you have not listed here? If the answer is no, that could be a disqualification. But so frequently, the answer is yes, that they didn't have the paperwork right away or didn't have, they didn't know to include it. So I just don't want you to immediately disqualify someone just because the Zillow application doesn't say the number that you think it should. We take that additional step.
Yep, we do. And in taking that additional step, because I know you're scrolling down, we're looking at the resident history, and Zillow, have a bone to pick with Zillow, but Zillow is not always accurate. And so you could be thinking, oh, there's 0 housing violations. Let's go ahead and move forward with this person. But you get on the Franklin County Municipal Court records and you'll see, okay, there's an eviction hearing next week. And so you've already gone through this whole process with someone and you find out they have a housing court violation or multiple. And so it's like, I'm pre-approval, we're looking at Zillow applications, but when we dive deep, I'm looking to find any other records. And especially if people are from out of state or they're from another county, sometimes things just don't show up. So you just have to really do your due diligence, because we've had some stories.
Yeah. And so, Cassie, what would you say if someone has a lapse in their resident history, similar if they had a lapse in income? What would you kind of look for there?
A lot of times this is where I would be making those phone calls to the potential resident after they've already submitted an application. I'm not going to really call someone who hasn't submitted this information because it might be a waste of time. But
we call them a looky loo. They're just a looky loo. They're not ready.
Exactly. They're not motivated. Right. And so that's when I'm going to that extra mile and I'm saying, okay, let me get to know what this person is looking for and why there was a lapse. And this is where you kind of get the backstory. Sometimes people moved in with family members, and that kind of ties into, landlord references, because we're asking questions like that, and we're looking at those addresses that are listed on the application, and sometimes they don't match up. So that's where you get that casual conversation of, okay, tell me about yourself, but in a casual way, because you want them to still move forward with the listing.
And so what you're seeing is the balance between hard numbers and the human touch, which is what Cassie is so good at. And we talk about all the time, people say, well, I have my VA do my property management. And that's great. If you are successful with a virtual assistant, maybe not native English speaker or whatever it is, if they're doing it for you, fantastic. But they were not doing it for me. It was not up to my standards, because I am looking for this human touch. And the balance that Cassie has between hard analytical mindset and like the, human, just understanding human beings and being able to talk to people is brilliant. So if you're considering either someone local in-house or someone VA, of course you're going to pay someone local significantly more, but just think about that benefit of her being able to have that conversation and understand people's nuances, understand their story, understand, if they could be a fantastic candidate, but it just doesn't show on paper. So she's getting to the bottom of that, which I have not personally seen a virtual assistant be able to do for us.
Yeah,
cool.
That's super important because that ties into retention too. But we're looking at I'm looking at the move-in date too, because I was just talking to a potential resident the other day, and they were, they're moving from out of the Metro Columbus area, or they're moving from that place to the Metro Columbus area. And I noticed, people will put a move-in date that may not be very accurate. Some people fill out these generalized Zillow applications and they don't update them for years. You just never know. But that's one of the questions that we're also asking in the Zillow chat. What is your desired move-in date? So we're going back to those expectations that Jesse was talking about, because that's super important. We're looking at maybe 2 weeks out, and we set that expectation from the time that they apply to move in, that we give that wiggle room for their move-in date. And so we're making it very, very clear, hey, we can, move you in on this date. And that's exactly 2 weeks,
Yep.
from when they started the process.
Yep.
So,
and so many times people are looking far ahead, which is fantastic. I mean, it shows that they're a planner, but often, we don't know. Like if someone gives 60 days, love it. We're going to be able to have a really quick turnover window. We're going to pre-lease. We're going to put someone in place for 7 days after the prior move out. Obviously that's all best case scenario. But when we have a property that's newly renovated, we don't start advertising it until the pictures are done and, we have something to actually market. So we're willing to hold it for more than 2 weeks for the right candidate. But for the most part, like we're not going to hold something for 2-3 months. So it's nice that people are planning ahead. And when we're pre-leasing, we'll absolutely entertain that. But you have to get that move-in date right away, because that's going to disqualify even a great candidate. You're not going to hold your unit vacant for 4 months until they're ready to move.
Right. But
so sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. But I will say, to your point though, and this is something that I started doing as I started getting, more comfortable in the leasing process. I'll go back through the candidates that we had, the applicants that were like, hey, you know what? This person was A1. They weren't ready to move, 2 weeks now, but they were ready to move back when. So it's like, okay, I can go back and follow up on those leads, and I can push them to the new listings that we have. And so far, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's like you can go back through that pool. I know Zillow, they give us a lot of people that are interested, but it's really nice to be able to go back and sometimes the people are already pre-approved. So that just makes it even better,
Nailed it. Exactly right. And we'll have someone who comes in on one application, but they're qualified for multiple units that we have available, so Cassie can coordinate them, say, okay, if she can kind of shift people around where it makes the most sense for vacancies and, for what people are qualified for. So if there is someone who needs a 3-bedroom and someone who needs a 2-bedroom, and maybe they applied for the wrong unit, not the wrong one necessarily, but they didn't know we had the other one, she can connect those dots.
Yep. Yeah.
Make it so that
needs.
Yeah. And then
and our needs too.
Something else that we've started doing, which has been awesome, is actually when we have vacancies or upcoming vacancies, we can send through our software what's called a property board announcement to all of our current residents saying, hey, we have this unit coming up. We can pay a bonus, a referral bonus, or if you want, especially in a multi-unit, if you want your friend to be your neighbor, this is coming up.
Yeah, that I think that's important too with the multi-units. There's a certain vibe you know what I mean, and a community that's built there. And I think right now we've done a pretty decent job with making sure that the vibe is right, you
Yeah.
know? So that's another factor that we're looking at for the multi-units is, okay, is this person gonna be cohesive with the rest of the residents that are there?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
so we're going, yeah. Yes, pets, that's another thing too, because we have a pet deposit, but you know, that $300 could make or break somebody for, you know, if they're living on the edge, possibly. So we make sure that we, you know, just list all the fees, rental history, again, Zillow, you know, bone to pick, do your due diligence on that
Yes. And
for each round.
Clinton was just asking about that. So Clinton was saying, are we having trouble trying to pull information from other courts? What's the workaround? If anyone watching this has a software that pulls from every nationwide court housing violation system, I would love to know about it. I've yet to find one
Please.
that pulls nationwide. But what we do is obviously we check ours. We check the county that they're moving from. If it's a different county, you know, their last address listed, right? We have all these past residents. So we can go back and check the counties for all of these past residents that they've lived in. It's a good indication, like, you know, if it's going to be filed, it's going to be filed in that county.
Yep.
It's not foolproof.
That's very,
but
very true.
Yeah. If someone knows one that checks nationwide, would love to know about it.
Please, that would save time 100%. But I would also say we're looking at the license too. We're looking at like I said, y'all, I go deep, but looking at the names, because some people will put a certain name, maybe it's a maiden name, but they'll put that on their application, but their ID will say something different. And so the housing court violation could be under their married or their, maiden name, and you wouldn't even know. And then if they have two last names, you better do all the combinations of the names.
I know. I think we just caught one. We almost moved someone in, and Cassie caught him with the maiden, and the two names were switched in the last name, and came up with 3 or 4 violations.
Yeah, especially that housing court violation. So it's like, it was a good save. We had some very close calls with people, like some people, you know, they know, some people know how to work the system is what I'd say. But we had some residents a potential resident, I think they had like 30K worth of damage. You remember those individuals? And we got right to the end. And
we were about to sign a lease.
Yes. And I'm like, let me just call their previous landlord again. They had 2, I think, listed. I'm like, let me get in touch, and found that information out. And it was like, dodge a bullet.
Let's talk. That's a great time. So, okay. We're not necessarily talking about the showing process today. We're talking about more the applicant screening. Yeah. So step 3 is that, you know, say they get through our pre-approval, which is just the Zillow app. Everything looks okay. They're able to answer some logical questions. They set up a self-showing. So they go do the showing. That's a whole different topic. They go do the showing. And then if they like the unit, they move on to the full approval. This is where Cassie is going deep dive. This is where we're manually checking housing court violations. This is where we're calling the employer. We are calling previous housing providers. We're calling their references. So talk us through kind of what those conversations are like.
Yeah, so I would say for the employer reference, it's really simple. We're verifying information. I'm looking at the pay stub. I'm making sure it's not fake, because people will do that 100%.
Pay stub, it's like, there's like paystubcreator.com or something. And I saw
literally.
We saw one the other day that we found the girl's social media and went on her page, and it was public, and it said, "Hey, who can create a pay stub for me?"
Ridiculous.
We're like,
but you know, some people, they'll take the time you can just see somebody had created a fake ID, and you can see that. I mean, you learn how to spot these things out after you do it more and more. But we're definitely asking, you know, the length of employment, because that ties into our scorecard. You're looking at the amount that they're getting paid gross per, if it's biweekly or weekly, however much they're getting paid and have the frequency. And then character questions. And I think that's important. Do they show up on time? They do what they're supposed to do, really basic. But I'm making the conversation with that employer super casual too, because that's when they'll let me know at the end of the conversation, hey, is there anything else I should know that would tie into, help us making our decision? They'll tell me if there's a lapse of employment, or they'll fill in that gap, so making it super casual. For the landlord, I will say that is, I'm asking more questions, rent paid on time, maintenance requests, were they submitted in a timely manner? Do they let you know exactly what was going on? How did they keep the home? Is it nice and clean? Are you doing inspections? Like I said, we're going super deep, just to know who we're starting our relationship with. 12 months or more, it's important.
And so I love what Cassie said, a relationship. And you guys, obviously this isn't like a romantic relationship. So when you hear relationship, get that out of your mind. It is a relationship. Similar, that would be like an employer relationship, or, a housing relationship is a critical part of someone's life, and it goes both directions. Someone can make our lives very difficult. We can make someone's life very difficult. So we're setting that expectation from day one. Hey, we have a team, we have a process, we know what we're doing. Get through this with us, and participate, and we're going to have a great relationship. And we absolutely share that with people ahead of time.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, we do. And I would say that Jesse and I kind of piggyback off of each other with this, but we, because they don't know who, with Jesse, are the advocates to the owner for any and everything that needs to be done with the property and things like that. And I think that's really helped foster that relationship that we have with our residents.
Yes. Yeah. So they get through the deep dive, we're checking social media. I don't want to, overstep we're not looking at any demographics, anything like that. We're just looking at are they throwing parties at their house? Are they, we're just checking for any major red flags, right? We're not nitpicking anyone's life, anything like that, just major red flags. And then assuming they pass all that, they move in. We onboard them to our software. We do leases, deposits all through the software. And then, we move them in. So as far as retention and expectations, how does that move-in process go to make it the most streamlined and the most healthy relationship?
I would say throughout that, this is what the game changer was. I think it's the touch points with the phone calls, while leasing, because some people will sign leases and they will ghost you. So without paying the deposits, yes, they will.
And so from there, but they just cause you extra paperwork for no reason. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, okay, that was a waste of time. But I would say that the more frequently that you communicate with somebody, the more likely they'll go through the process. And you're setting those expectations, saying, okay, hey, we have a move-in checklist. This is going to tell you the condition of the home when you're going through. We expect it back within 48 hours. So we're setting that expectation. We're setting it from day one. Maintenance request submission, making sure that there's pictures. So it's like we're setting them up for the next 12 months or more with how our process goes. Yeah, exactly. So we're letting them know how to make their rental payments. We're giving them the options, especially when they're first moving in. The deposit is different, with making that payment to secure the property, but then ongoing, making sure that the expectation is there and it's, realistic. So that's where we set the tone of, okay, that first week, I think we were talking about this. The first week is so important because people go in, they have these expectations. Maybe they had a prior expectation that was negative. So we're trying to, do our best to change it, but make sure, okay, we're meeting the expectations that we're telling them, but then also, leaving it open-ended for them to ask us questions and be comfortable with having those conversations so that we're not 3 months down the line and getting ghosted,
And so many, like that first week, even if someone's lived in a property before, their expectations may be different. But a lot of times, if you're coming off of a BRRRR renovation, you're doing a somewhat major cosmetic mechanical renovation. You do your punch list, you do your final payment checklist, but someone is going to move in and they're going to have, I don't know, 1 to 5 things that they would like you to look at. Right? They're like, this may not be right. This may not be right. We're missing a whatever. Whatever it is. You could comb through this property while it's vacant. Someone moves in, you're going to find something. So how do you manage that first week of what we call occupied punch list? How do you manage that process? Because having a clear expectation, introducing them to the maintenance crew. And,
Right.
your HVAC is probably going to be different than your plumber, et cetera. But a lot of your maintenance
Right.
is probably done by the same person. So you're introducing them to that crew, your trading phone numbers, you're doing whatever is your process to show them that you care about the unit. Because when you care about the unit, they care about the unit. Not always,
Yeah.
but it definitely helps. That shows that we're not slacking. We are on top of your housing. We care about your housing. So that's so important to us because it creates that happy, healthy, long-term relationship.
Yep. That's 100%
That was my
right.
soapbox.
but that's true though. Like that is so true. And I think there's a lot of people that have come recently and they're like, oh my gosh, I appreciate the communication. We do a lot of texting, which I love building them for that feature,
Yes.
So it's been super quick. Some people have to work a lot of people work during the day and sometimes it's quicker, but people communicate with us and we stay in contact with them, letting them know what's going on. So yeah.
So
I know
you guys, when I say self-management, I don't mean that you have to be the one texting all day. I mean that you find a Cassie, and we're gonna maybe talk about some future plans with Miss Cassie. But you find a Cassie that can, if you get overwhelmed or if you have a full-time job that you can't have these conversations, I would find someone that can, because it's so important. So important. So Miss Cassie, someone asked, where did we meet?
Where did we meet? At Starbucks? No. I was doing where did we meet? Over the internet. So I was doing TC work for Jessie with her wholesale of properties. And then from there, she asked me if I wanted to move into the admin role. And I said yes. And from there, like I said, she changed my life. No, I almost had a baby on her office floor. And from there, I mean, I did. I almost had Roman.
You literally, I think, had the baby like later that day.
I did. I went to her office. I left at like 4, and then my water broke at like 6.
I'm like, why are you here? Go home.
Yes, like don't have the baby here, please don't.
Yes, yeah. I don't have, my insurance doesn't cover that.
But yeah, so our relationship evolved from there for sure.
It did. So we technically met. I think you applied, but we had some friends. Yeah, I think you applied. I had a job posting for transaction coordination, which is TC. So she was doing transaction coordination, and then I was, we were at 20 something units. You guys have heard my story. I was fully overwhelmed with how to manage all this the right way. I was doing it the wrong way. So brought Cassie on, and we've been able to iron out and flesh out a lot of these systems and processes. So yeah, we met, the good old fashioned job applicant, and then we had a lot in common. So I kind of brought her on in a bigger role. So
yeah,
Cassie, how would anyone get their own Cassie?
Oh my goodness. Well, maybe a job posting, but I would just say if you're looking for somebody that's like me, I would say that you're looking for someone who's really detail oriented, somebody who really has your best interests at heart. They have really good communication skills, and they're just able to, I would say, think in a business owner mindset. I mean, I've own businesses, and so I'm not just thinking about doing mindless tasks when I'm working with Jesse. I'm thinking about, okay, how would I feel if this is my business? I'm taking the ownership. So I would look for someone who has that type of mindset, because will take you and them pretty far and growing into that role you have for them.
Yep. So when we started, she had, entrepreneurship background and, admin background, but not necessarily any property management. So I've invested, I think we're coming up on 2 years now. So
Yeah.
I know it's crazy. We should have a little party. I've invested in training her to work our process, because right now I'm able to step out in a lot of roles and I'm able to empower her. I mean, Cassie's making decisions that, the first month I never would have thought were possible. So it is just a matter of investing in, the people around you, investing in your team, because when you have that committed I'm going to cry. When you have that committed relationship, I honestly can't imagine running my business without you. So y'all go get you a Cassie.
Oh, this was heartwarming. Oh. Yes. But I think it's cohesive, but it has been a really great learning experience. I've had the administrative background, my degree is in administration, but this was something totally different for me in real estate. And I had already taken my, salesperson courses in 2015, but I just, I had babies in between and I just kind of, let it lapse. So definitely looking to get on the sales side, but this was like the perfect opportunity for me and Jesse at the perfect time in our lives. And I think that we've really been able to help each other throughout these last 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm going to tease it. There may or may not be a Cassie Wilson property management company coming up. May or may not be. So we're going to tease that right there, and we're going to keep the community posted. So if you're investing in Central Ohio, I know a badass lady who can help you out one of these days.
Yes, badass. I love it.
Yeah. And you guys, if you want more Cassie questions, feel free to post on the Big Unlocked group right here, and we'll get some answers for you. If you want more Cassie support, we have Rentals Made Easy Method. It's our 12-month mastermind. A ton of the comments here are from our students who are saying, Cassie's the best. So she helps support not only me and my business, but she helps support our real estate community and student community as well. So if that is something that you're interested in, Lizzie's on this call. I'm about to bring her on. Lizzie, say hi. Hi. Lizzie's here. And so if y'all have any questions, this is the face, lovely lady who you're talking to. And so we would love to talk to you about Rentals Made Easy Method and exactly what we do here. So if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. And I know we're super over on time, but I had to take the time to say how much I love you.
Oh, love you too.
Okay. Bye, y'all.
See ya. Bye.